Hello, folks. Here we are looking at the start of our week, day 23 of our virtual learning. So, if we look at today's assignment, we're going to go and use the terms that we were developing from Monday and Tuesday that we went over on Friday if you were participating in our Zoom. And we're going to look at some of the reform movements, and today it's going to be the prison reform movement. But before we look into that, today in history, if you're curious, 1810, Ludwig van Beethoven, famous classical composer, composed his famous piece for Elise, the ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum. So that was in 1810, which we're studying a time period of the 1800s, and it's kind of interesting that we look at this time as our reform movement slash almost civil war movement 50 years later, and he's creating these pieces. Just a little tidbit of information there. So now, if we look at what we have for today, there's some instructions here at the first page, just in terms of zooming in. So if the text is too small, we've talked about this before, make sure you're going to this Zoom tab that's right here, clicking on it. I would suggest 50 just so you can see part of it, but if you're like, I am blind as a bat, you can always go to 100, but then just be mindful that you're going to have to scroll down and then, move to the right so you can see the second part when you need to. It's in columns, so you're going to read the first column and then the second column. When we're looking at these directions here, we're going to color code just to help us, read the document a little, more intuitively rather than just like a blurb of text. You don't have to highlight every single place and every single person and every information. That's why I have in capital letters important people, right? So if you see something that's an important part, like for example, James Hadgrave's spinning jenny and Isaac Singer's sewing machine, right? That might be an interesting and important fact that you need to know because you never know if you'll need it. Someone in this document that might be important is Dorothea Dix, as you're going to see in this document, because she is going to be the leader and the more understanding person in this reform movement. And she actually does a lot to help people that are in prisons and other institutions, other mental institutions, to get them help and the humanity that they need in these places. So you're going to read that and highlight, and once you're done highlighting, there's just a set of 4 questions. Who is the leader? Say like, the person, what they did maybe, conditions before the reform. So if we're talking about the prison reform, how is life like for the people in prisons or in these mental institutions before Dorothea Dix had her, wanted to really have this prison reform occur, right? And what kind of then in the next box, what kind of reforms did she make for these people? How did she help them? And then search for 2 symbols that represent efforts in reform. If you can think of something symbolic of the prison reform movement, that could be a good idea. The other thing to know is maybe an actual picture from the time period that reflects prison reform. So what you can do is go here, and I have the instructions here as well. Insert, image, and search from web. And you can find a bunch of images if you do a quick Google search for that. So I'm not going to look that up because I feel like you guys definitely know how to do that. And then you're going to put 2 images here. No text involved, just 2 symbols. Be creative if you want. If you, really have an inkling of how to do, I forget where it is, but if you know how to do like a Google drawing and you want to, really get fancy and include one in there, by all means, please feel free to do so. But that's not necessary. I'm not requiring it. Just if you are artistic and you really want to try your best efforts at creating some sort of symbol of prison reform at this time, go ahead. So that's going to be in our classwork section, and make sure to be turning that in. I will be a little more strict on that because I've been, waiting for people to turn assignments the next day. And I think people are starting to take advantage of that. So if I don't see it, turned in by midnight, I will put a 0 until it's submitted. So please make sure you're doing that, because I don't want to have to put a 0 in, but it's also not fair that I'm waiting on people to turn in assignments. Okay, so I hope you have a great day. We won't be having our Zoom today, but if you do have any questions, tomorrow I'm going to be holding lunch if anyone needs a lunch Zoom session. And then Wednesday, we're going to have our review for your quiz on Thursday. Thursday, the only thing that you will have is the quiz. So please make sure you're studying for your quiz so you can just do really well on that and then not have to worry about anything else that day. And then that's it for now. I will see you either Tuesday or definitely Wednesday. Have a great day. Bye, guys.